Hello everyone, my name is Craig. Welcome back to the channel and a highly requested review this time. Well, at least I got leave one comment about this one and I decided, hey, I would go ahead and buy this blaster. It's a video review of the Nerf Zombie Strike Hammershot. Pretty cool blaster. I've heard a lot of good things about this one. Let's get into a review and see if it lived up to the hype. We'll start out with an external overview, starting up at the front of no end strike barrel lug. It's cylinder fed. Getting up front to the cylinder, this is a rotating, fully exposed barrel with a capacity of 5 shots. For this package, that's actually quite a bit of ammo right there. The barrel is free flowing or free spinning, and you could do that, and no real definitive clicks like clunky plastic and stuff. It feels like actually a pretty smooth rotate as it goes through. So the capacity of this blaster is 5 shots, so pretty cool that you can just simply front load just like that. This is just excess piece of plastic with that. Getting up to the top, there is an end strike tactical rail up top. Awesome that it digs for the tactics, although it probably could just be that I haven't reviewed a blaster in a while, but this just looks like a giant. This tactical rail just looks giant compared to what I'm used to. I probably haven't done a review in like 2 weeks, so could just be me. But yeah, one end strike tactical rail up top, awesome. Getting back to the back is the hammer. This is hammer action, spring powered as well. To prime, you do that and you're ready to fire once. This blaster does not have slam fire, but you can pretend to fan as well, but the fire rate is not equal to the rate that you fan, right? You still have to push this all the way down and pull the trigger at the same time. So no slam fire enabled, but hammer action allows it to be fired with one hand. Prime weight is pretty smooth for blasters in the Nerf Elite line, I would say, or Zombie Strike, comparable to other blasters on the market right now. Getting down to the grip and stuff, it seems fairly proportional, comfortable, not too oversized, a little bit too oversized, at least for me. I have small hands. It fits around my hand completely with even more. The weight balance of this is very front heavy. I mean, granted, I have small hands. One of the things I did notice about this blaster when I went to test and make sure that it worked after I bought it off of Amazon was that it was much bigger and heavier than I recollected, or that's not the right word, but than I imagined it to be. Like, this is doing this for my size of hand is actually a little bit strenuous. I'll get into that a little bit later, but the grip is pretty good. I think that it's well proportioned. It's just the weight balance is a little bit weird, but grip is pretty cool. At the bottom is a sling mount. This blaster is small enough-ish to holster, so I don't know why you would want a full sling mount really on this. I don't know why you're slinging secondaries like this if it's not like a large rifle thingy. I never understood that, but that is there if you want it. Getting over to the trigger pull is pretty smooth, actually extremely light, at least from what I know, comparing to other blasters on the market, extremely light. I've been pulling the trigger just dry firing on that, and it almost feels like as if this blaster has been used already, but it wasn't. Almost feels like the quality I would get off of eBay, which is good and both bad, but I mean, if this is factory standard, then okay. Then it's pretty light. It's lighter than most blasters on the market right now. Of course, no slam fire, but works really, really well. So the thing that I wanted to talk about was this profile weight balance. It's really front heavy, and doing this for a secondary, especially for pistols and stuff, I would prefer it to be pretty lightweight so I can whip around. You would probably want that out of a rifle or something, but I can totally understand with something much bigger like a primary, I can understand the weight distribution of that. But with the secondary, especially one that is actually much bigger than I thought. On this is extremely front heavy. This is almost like Maverick level front heavy, and I complained about how front heavy that blaster was. This one also is. I mean, it could just be me. Yeah, my muscle mass is pretty much non-existent, but it is something that I would like to mention because it was quite surprising. I haven't really heard many people talk about that too much in other reviews and stuff. So I came in here expecting it to be like this really lightweight, pretty small blaster, and which it kind of is, but it's heavier than I imagined. The form factor is actually, you could actually holster this, although it seems a bit bulky from this side. You probably have to make a custom holster for it, but most people do sling their Hammershots, but this just feels a little bit bigger than I thought, and I do have other blasters that are a better form factor of this. Granted, they don't have 5 shots in there, but if you want a slimmer profile for whatever reason, if you're trying not to go around carrying a whole bunch of mass, maybe a single shot, like slimmer profile blaster may be the way to go. But yeah, I mean, the fact that I have small hands is pretty much the main complaint to it. I don't know if I can really blame the blaster for that, but this almost, now holding it again, every second that I'm holding it, it almost feels too big for me personally. Bigger person is probably not going to complain about this at all. I love the one-handed action, but again, I have small hands. The distance from here to here for me, where you're doing that priming action, is a lot smaller for my hands. So this while I can do the hammer action thing, is actually a lot more strenuous for me personally, but I can do it. So one-handed operation, still a pro, but for my hands and stuff, it's quite a reach. Sometimes I have to almost put my hand in the trigger to be able to really get that, although I can just put my hand there and do it. So I mean, if I'm whipping out like that, my thumb is just barely on it, right? And you really want your thumb all the way on it. There's just the profile of this for my hands is really big. But generally, most people, I would say in general, this might fit a general person's hand. I'm going to assume that most people would have larger hands than I do. If you have smaller hands, this might be a little bit big, I'm going to say. But if you have larger hands, this should be fine. So that's really all to go over. Well, actually, I'll probably add this as well. 5 shots in this type of capacity of form factor is really good. With them, most other blasters would be longer or bigger and thicker, like a strong arm or a disruptor, or something longer, like with them, not like a Lawbringer. I'm trying to think of something else that is longer but also has like 6 shots. The blaster name already escaped my mind, but you'll probably know what I mean if you were to see it. But actually, now thinking about it, the Dark Zone, that covert or that secret ops blaster that I reviewed not too long ago, has about 4 or 5 shots, and actually I would almost think has a better profile, smaller, sleeker profile than this. Is it quite as reliable? That's up for debate, but I think that's actually maybe better profile than this, even though this has 5 shots. This is almost as best as you can get without going as big as a strong armored disruptor or something like that. So I can see why it's a favorite of people, especially the one-handed action. You could go around and dual wield it, but just with my sized hands and stuff, that's what I have to base it off of. for my personal experience. I don't quite know, but I mean, in general, I'm also trying to take into consideration maybe not everyone's built like me. It could be a good blaster, but I'm a little bit more critical when it comes to reviewing some blasters. I just think the weight balance could have been a little bit better, but it still seems like a pretty decent blaster. We'll wait until we get to the firing demo and conclusion to really determine has the Hammershot really lived up to its legacy. Doing my 5-foot room target again because I can't use my normal space, starting out with the Nerf Zombie Strike Elite Darts. Lovely, I can't find a singular dart when I want one. There we go. Now shooting some Air Warriors long distance darts, just for fun. Some white Amosting darts. What? Some X-Shot 3/4 length darts. What? Now some X-Shot full length. And for the sake of fun, some Old Orange and Strike darts. I have many other ammo types, but these are the only ones that I really want to fire, so be it. Oh, this is probably not going to end well. I think these darts are so long they block it from rotating. Yep. Did not fire. So let's try to end on a more satisfying note. I have 2 Screamer darts. Hoo! Firing analysis and conclusion of the Nerf Hammershot, and I'm sorry about the firing demo if that one was a little fuzzy. I didn't realize my camera was dirty. I thought it was something else. I thought that it was just like fading out for whatever reason. No, it was, the lens was dirty, so cleaned it now. So sorry about that one. Firing analysis and conclusion of the Nerf Zombie Strike Hammershot. It actually fired very, very well if you only used elite darts. Pretty much everything else pretty much sucked except for the X-Shot darts. There was a little bit of a firing inconsistency, especially with the X-Shot, like 3/4 length darts, where I don't know if it didn't fully rotate or something like that, but one of the darts would not fire for whatever reason, and it was quite annoying. I don't know if that's a Lemon product or what, or if that's mechanical error, but aside from that, they fired pretty well. The Mosting darts actually absolutely sucked. They're actually pretty accurate, but they don't have good velocity, and I've been overestimating Mosting darts a lot. They're actually really accurate, but they don't have great arc, so they don't travel too far, or they might... You'll get lower velocity out of them, but you will get better accuracy out of them. Air Warrior darts are alright. The Elite darts fired well. The X-Shot darts are always really good as well. The old Orange End Strike darts just didn't fire. Out of this, I could tell that from the length in there. I kind of expected. Anything else? So besides the firing, and I don't know what the chrono velocity is. I didn't look it up, and my chronograph is still broken. I haven't bought a new one yet, so I don't know the chrono velocity of this, but it seems pretty decent for a backup pistol. So the firing is actually really good. Now into all the other things. Objectively, there's no reason to avoid this. It did everything it's supposed to do, except for I don't know if that one feeding issue is every single Hammershot or just my product. I'm going to say that it's probably just my product or mechanical error, but did want to note that. Nothing really... Well, I will probably note the form factor. From what I think this blaster is a little bit too chunky for what it is. I think up here, you could slim down to 5 shots into an even better form factor than this. Yes, of course, the dart would be even closer together, but I think that you could do it. Like, this up here just looks way too wide of that, and you can extend some of this other plastic or get rid of this other plastic for it. This actually seems almost too big of a blaster, but I can kind of see why. This is almost as small as you can get with 5 shots, but I've actually seen other 5-shot blasters. Of course, they didn't perform as well, but 5 or even 6-shot blasters that were smaller than this, than the Hammershot, yes, I have seen them. They're mainly off-brand blasters. But that are smaller than this and actually still worked fine. So there is improvement that you can do with this. But aside from that, this also goes back more into a subjective thing as opposed to objective. Subjectively, that's also partially mine. I don't particularly dig the form factor of this. Even with the one-handed operation, I'd rather use something like a strong arm or disruptor if I really wanted to go with this. This is almost too big for me, even for this. Even trying to do the hammer action, my hands just aren't big enough to really make this really the satisfying thing. I have to adjust my hand in order to really get the hammer action worthwhile. Otherwise, my hand is just barely clipping. Just barely clipping the hammer here to be able to prime. In the firing demo, it didn't really affect too much, and I was over gripping a little bit. But this grip is good and comfortable, but it's big. The entire blaster, I think, is almost a little bit too big. Sorry, part 2 of this, I had a notification come and it interrupted. A little bit too big. For me personally, there's no objective reason to avoid this, and it's actually a decent blaster, but I do think that the blaster is a bit overhyped for this reason. If you have bigger hands, maybe you might think that this is really good, but I just think that the form factor is actually just way too big. Yes, at this point, you might as well go to 6 darts and go bigger with a strong arm or disruptor at this point. Yes, I see that they tried to make it like this, but they put 4 darts in a slimmer package in a dart zone blaster. Granted, they had that weird scope up top, but it's still of a better form factor than this thing. This, I don't think is a great form factor at all. And I personally wouldn't run a Hammershot that much. I prefer also two-handed operations with my pistols, not one unless if I'm like doing something. And I just feel like, especially with this curved handle, I don't have as much control of the blaster as I would with a vertical grip, where I can easily do one-handed if I need to, or two-handed. This one, I feel like that I want to do two-handed, but it's weird. The main complaint about this that I have is the form factor, and maybe I'm trying to put objective based off of the subjective opinion, which wouldn't be right, but I feel like, because I could see objectively how there's nothing really wrong with this blaster, and it lives up to its legendary status, but I do think that it's a little bit overhyped, because it should be good for all blaster sizes, all hand sizes, everything. But for me, this is just big, and that falls into the objective standpoint that when they're marketed this I think that this would be better for a person with larger hands, not small hands like mine. Like, there's even kids with this. Like, I could see somebody who has smaller hands than me, a child, would probably even still struggle to do this. And just the distance between the hammer, if they brought the hammer down to here and then made it a prime action, that would have been so much better, right? I could do that all day. But this is actually quite a bit of a reach. It's a higher reach on the grip, right, to be able to prime with that. So yeah, I'm complaining a lot about the form factor, and I'm trying not to say the same things from that. But everything else about the blaster is pretty darn good. So objectively, there's no really reason to buy it, but in my personal opinion, if we want to get into that, I personally wouldn't use this. Would I recommend this to somebody? I don't know. I'd probably say consider a 6-shot bigger thing, like a strong arm disruptor with an ability for slam fire or something. Yes, you lose the one-handed operation of this, and maybe a bigger-ish profile, but you're not going to get a blaster quite as chunky as this. This is chunky for a small blaster. This is quite chunky. With this, I think you could have gone slimmer with this. Like, I think a disruptor is technically not as wide, but it's longer with that. Or I just don't want to fish out my disruptor to really check. But yeah, but for Zombie Strike, this is also my first Zombie Strike blaster. I think I'm not going to really judge only this blaster based off of the entire Zombie Strike series quite yet. Unlike with the Elite 2.0, where I could tell immediately kind of where they're going with that. But with Zombie Strike, I'm quite familiar with that. This is actually still a pretty good blaster with it. Personally, if you wanted positive, negative, or somewhere in between, my opinion on this blaster is actually kind of negative. I don't really like this blaster. Would I recommend this to somebody? Maybe. If you're one of those with bigger hands and like one-handed operation, 5 shots in this kind of capacity is fairly decent. I still really think the form factor is too big. For that, I would still say go check out a strong arm or disruptor or something else that probably has slam fire or something with it. Slam fire with it to really get this out of this. I don't think one-handed operation really is that much of an advantage over this big of a form factor. I really don't. In my opinion, I think the bigger ammo that I can understand why, like, strong arm disruptor is built the way that it is, and I find that the thing. I just think that if you're gonna go this small, you might as well do it right, and I think they just put in way too much plastic with it. There's like, I could tell from here that there's like just centimeters that you could have just trimmed off a little bit and wouldn't have made it too compact, right? And also the weight balance on this is, I can tell, is front heavy. Like the grip, this just doesn't feel right for the grip. It's a bit front heavy, almost like Maverick type front heavy. Maybe not quite, but it is still with that. So before I start complaining about the same things over and over, I know a lot of you are going to be disappointed. So I'm a bit in between. Objectively, I can tell there's really nothing wrong with it. Subjectively, in my personal opinion, I don't really like this blaster too much, but I'm going to try to make it more of an objective opinion. It is still a really good blaster and beats out a lot of other blasters that I reviewed. It's still a better choice than all of that. I would still definitely check out this blaster over a Jolt or something, but I wouldn't say check this out over like a strong arm disruptor. I'd say compare pros and cons and then make it your own decision. It's basically what I would say for this. So let me know what you think of the Hammershot in the comments down below. Maybe I'll play with this a little bit more. I feel like this is going to be a blaster I'm really going to do a re-review on and really try to get in a new opinion on this, or maybe it won't. So I'll do this, maybe compare it to another blaster, but for right now I'm a bit mixed because objectively good, subjectively bad. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. I know this was requested highly by at least one of my subscribers here with that, so I'm glad that I made you happy with this review. But I know I probably didn't make you that happy because I kind of crapped on it a little bit. But mad respect for those who do like this. I can totally see how you could like the Hammershot, but fortunately not me. So my name is Craig. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to subscribe. We're almost to our 100 subscriber goal, where we'll start our first Q&A. Be sure to leave this video a like if you do like it, and I'll see you guys in the next video.